New Zealand has a wall of deep blue ocean all around it. But modern jetliners, ships of all sizes, and millions of visitors can potentially bring drugs, illegal goods, biosecurity risks, and animal diseases. Day and night, men, women, super smart technology, and clever animals are constantly watching the border to protect the country we call home. The crucial layer of defence, New Zealand's Border Patrol. Tonight on Border Patrol, a Portuguese man travelling from Chile finds himself in the customs red zone.
In this bag here, we found traces of cocaine.
Yes?
Yeah. So can you give me an answer as to why we might be finding cocaine?
A Spanish film crew bring a ton of gear to Queenstown, but a very poor script explaining why they're here.
Is there anything you're going to shoot connect to the Winter Games?
No.
And a Malaysian banned from entering Australia has a hefty story for New Zealand immigration.
Why did your wife and children not travel?
My wife,
Yeah?
because she's fat.
Auckland International Airport is a gateway for millions of people to enter and leave New Zealand every year. Border staff are tasked with monitoring passengers out of the norm, and today, a Portuguese national off a flight from Chile fits the bill. He's in the customs red zone with Officer Crystal.
Did you pack your bags yourself?
What? Yes.
You know
yes,
the
yes.
Wonderful. Are you bringing any goods on behalf of anybody else?
What?
Are you bringing any goods on behalf of anybody else?
No.
No? Great. Do you have
With only vague travel plans for a 3-week visit and one hotel booking in Auckland, customs are suspicious of the Portuguese man's intent. Crystal starts a thorough search.
It's a lot of luggage for 21 days. You brought a lot of clothing.
The man claims to be a real estate agent. He appears to have brought the contents of his entire wardrobe.
I'm just going to swab your bags, okay, with this?
Okay.
And this will pick up any trace of narcotics.
Okay.
One simple swab of the man's bag is put through the iron scanner.
Oh. Cocaine.
If the first result wasn't damning enough, a second swab gives a reading off the charts.
Ooh. That's high. So that's definitely a lot more believable that there's something in the bag.
Queenstown Lake District is New Zealand's premier winter destination. The annual Winter Games is a huge drawcard for tourists. Queenstown Airport is receiving a stream of athletes, spectators and media for the 16-day event, and Customs have just taken this group of Spaniards aside.
They had a large number of cases on each of their trolleys, so we've taken them into our search area to ascertain their reasons for being in the country.
In the red zone, Customs Officer Marcelo has a few questions for one of the men about all their professional broadcast equipment.
Why you have some social media? So you guys making a film about the Winter Games?
The man claims to be nothing more than a spectator of a friend competing in a snowboarding event. His travelling companion is found to have excess undeclared tobacco. Neither have work visas.
Have you got any more of these? Just make sure you got everything.
This, sorry.
The allowance is 50 grams or 50 cigarettes, but he's well exceeded that.
You want to pay it in credit card, sir? You want a card? Yep. If we could just come over here, sir, please. Thanks.
After cutting his losses and paying the extra duty, the man's friend still can't convince Officer Marcelo he hasn't come here to work.
What I see here is that you have really expensive equipment, you know, and you'll be there on the Winter Games. It's like, so why you bring your equipment if you're not going to use?
Back at Auckland International Airport, a Portuguese real estate agent is in the customs red zone. His cases have given massive readings for cocaine after swabs were taken off their linings.
That's high.
Customs Officer Crystal gives the man a chance to explain.
In this bag here, we found traces of cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you give me an answer as to why we might be finding cocaine?
I don't know. I don't have cocaine here.
You don't have cocaine? When was the last time you used cocaine?
Just 1 month.
1 month ago?
Yes, I using. In the party.
Yeah.
Yes.
This Portuguese party animal has to somehow reassure Crystal that not only does he have no cocaine on him, he won't seek it out in New Zealand.
How long have you owned these suitcases for?
1 year.
1 year.
Supervisor John gets an update on the unfolding situation.
It's definitely around the suitcases themselves, not the clothes with them. So I'm going to check them through the x-ray now.
Yeah, concentrate on those. See where we go.
The 2 suitcases which registered cocaine show nothing on the x-ray machine.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
But Crystal isn't letting this passenger off the hook yet. She wants to know more about his plans.
Whilst in Auckland,
Yes.
while you're here, is there any place or things you want to do?
No.
Nothing in particular?
Nothing particular.
Okay.
No plans, admission of using cocaine regularly, and bags that seem to prove it means a drug dog team is needed. Drug dog Annika doesn't indicate, but she does show strong interest on both suitcases.
Typically changed on those bags, but I'd say there could have been something there.
Sweet.
It's been removed, but
Senior Customs Officer Richard comes down to have a look at the construction of the cases and notices something unusual.
Damage on the screws. That's
Yeah.
what I said, a screwdriver inside. I'm doing it or doing it up. That's holding the handle on. So what you can do is you can like unscrew these.
That one's up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all loose. Why would all these be loose?
Yeah.
It looks like Crystal's instincts are about to pay off. In the safe room, she drills into the lining and sure enough, a telltale white powder starts trickling out. At Auckland International Airport, a Portuguese real estate agent is calmly explaining to customs why his bag sparked off the iron scanner with high readings for cocaine.
Just 1 month.
1 month ago?
Yes, I using.
But after strongly denying smuggling drugs, Officer Richard notices the Portuguese man's bag structures have been tampered with.
Why would all these be loose?
Yeah.
When Customs Officer Crystal drills into one bag's lining, she finds a white powder. Suddenly, the dynamic situation changes as she gets an update from the red zone.
Cool. So we've just had a full confession to my colleague that this is in fact cocaine, and the passenger has fully admitted it.
The Portuguese man's composure dissolves as he realises he is in a gigantic pile of trouble.
Why did you bring the cocaine to New Zealand?
Because I don't know the names.
Okay. Were you being paid?
Yes.
How much?
60,000.
60,000.
Yes.
That's Brazilian?
No, dollars. Dollars and euros.
New Zealand dollars?
Yes.
60,000.
It's a classic drug mule story, so off for a personal search he goes. But nothing is found on him. Meanwhile, Crystal and a colleague start extracting what is almost definitely cocaine from the cases.
So as you can see, we've broken the lining and a whole lot of white powder, cocaine falling out the side. So good result.
A painstaking process recovers an enormous amount of material from the bag's linings. The lab results will later confirm it's high-grade cocaine, but for now, the team bag and weigh it.
It's a great find, 2.6 kg, roughly, of cocaine. It's been a long day.
This would have had a street value of around $1.2 million. The Portuguese national was arrested on the spot and later convicted of drug trafficking. He received 8 years in a New Zealand prison with instant deportation upon completion of the sentence. Over 6.5 million passengers use Christchurch International Airport every year. It's the South Island's largest airport, but this man has arrived from one of the world's smallest, on Kiribati, via Fiji, where he's been working for 6 months. He's declared he has a number of weapons, so Supervising Customs Officer Ray and Officer Nicole want to have a look.
It's not double-edged or prohibited as far as customs is concerned. So it's just the 3?
Just the 3, yeah.
The daggers are only souvenirs and pass customs requirements. But the vicious-looking shark teeth, fish bones and shells could be of interest to MPI Biosecurity New Zealand Officer Craig.
So where did you get these from, sir?
Kiribati.
Kiribati?
Yes.
This is interesting.
They're all
Shark's teeth.
shark spine. Yeah, shark's teeth and they're all spine. Yeah, pretty well done, especially that one.
Yeah. Is this all your shelves and wood?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delving into his extensive souvenir stash, the man produces something highly prized on the remote Kiribati.
These local cigarettes, wrapped in like a bamboo leaf.
So these are what, sir?
Some local cigarettes.
And bamboo leaf?
I think it's bamboo leaf, yeah. They taste like crap, but yeah.
The tobacco is dried and well within the allowance, but the bamboo leaves could carry pests or diseases, so need to be checked. This large shell is a completely different matter.
The shell is definitely going to dock. This is a quite giant clamshell. Thousands of them, but it's also an endangered species.
Which brings Biosecurity New Zealand back to those shark's teeth on the daggers.
Some sharks are endangered species, and if we see something that looks like it could come from an endangered species, we hold it and we let Doc make a decision.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue, mate.
The man explains how he came by these extraordinary items.
So we kind of swapped a few things. So I gave him like scuba masks and things like that, which are like a commodity. And then in return on the day he left, he made me a couple of knives to say thank you. I don't know what sharks they were, but yeah, they're pretty bloody awesome.
The bamboo leaves are declared to be harmless, so they can be admitted. But the shell and shark's tooth daggers must be assessed by the Department of Conservation. Finally, the traveller reveals one more fearsome weapon from the islands.
Has this been used in...
Yeah, it's shot a few fish, yeah.
Following a detailed investigation of the shark tooth daggers, Doc found all the teeth were from a protected species. Along with the clamshell, they were forfeited to the Crown until further notice. But after disinfection, the fishing spear is good to go.
It's all nice and clean now, ready for him to have.
Back in Queenstown, a group of Spaniards are in the customs red zone trying to explain that they're not here in New Zealand to work, even though they have loads of professional film equipment.
What I see here is that you have really expensive equipment, and you'll be there on the Winter Games. It's like, so why you bring your equipment if you're not going to use?
At another search bench, another member of the crew admits they all work in the film industry.
Producer.
Okay, all right.
Another search bench, the same story emerges.
You're a professional photographer. Others in the group have an interest in photography, but you're only here to holiday.
It's hard to prove they're actually here to work, but Marcelo receives some incriminating information from his colleague Linda.
These are all freelance. They've come over to watch this person. He's a snowboarder competing. They are following him. They're going to take photos and video footage.
In full receipt of the truth, Marcelo gives the first man a last chance.
Is there anything you're going to shoot connect to the Winter Games?
No, Winter Games.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
So you use this, you take photos, right?
Yeah.
Will someone give you money for the photo?
No, it's just it's personal.
You're not the one who paid for your ticket, right? And you did not pay for your accommodation as well. So why is someone paying for your ticket and for your accommodation to come over here?
The group couldn't lie straight in bed. They're here to work, but Officer Christopher gives them one final chance to admit it.
So if you can be honest with me now, maybe you'll probably end up with a good result. Is someone paying you to take some photos?
Yeah.
So you're having an income for your stay here today?
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much for your honesty, sir. If you just take a seat back, thanks.
With an acknowledgement of the true story, it's time for a bit of advice for next time. If there is a next time.
So just next time you travel, because this is you use this for your profession. So these are considered as tools of trade. And if it's more than $1,000, you actually need to apply for a temporary import entry to New Zealand.
It was put to them several times to be honest, to be upfront, and they were sticking to a line that they were here to look around, take photos. But because we couldn't get a straight story from all of them, we have now referred them back to immigration.
After consulting Immigration New Zealand, the Spanish film crew were issued with temporary work visas that they could have easily obtained in the first instance. They were warned a repeat could result in being turned around at the border next time. A plane landing at Auckland International Airport from Malaysia has border staff keeping an eagle eye out for visitors who've come to work without the correct visa.
So we've had a passenger referred to us from Customs. He was very vague with Customs as to why he's come to New Zealand and what he's going to be doing here. All he could tell them was that he's here to drink wine, someone else has paid for his tickets, and he doesn't have any contacts here in New Zealand, so we're going to have a chat to him.
To be certain he's a bona fide visitor, Immigration Officer Stacey and a translator start the ball rolling with questions about his travel history.
Have you ever been excluded or banned from any country?
Yes. Australia.
When?
什么时候的事情 ？Last year.
What type of visa did you have?
那你在澳大利亚当时拿的是什么签证？是旅游签证 ，Visitor visa。
And were you working on your visitor's visa?
你拿了旅游签证，你在那边工作吗？对。Yes.
Failing to declare the exclusion from Australia and working without a visa sets off alarm bells.
So what do you want to do in New Zealand?
那么在新西兰打算做些什么 ？Relax. And drink some red wine and walk around. Then we'll go back.
It sounds like a nice vacation, but after telling Stacey he has a family, why would he come here alone?
Why did your wife and children not travel?
My wife?
Yeah?
Because she's fat. She don't like to travel around here, there. She prefers to stay at home, playing the game. Come on.
At least he's honest about his marriage. Stacey continues.
Do you know where this
Henderson. Henderson.
Close to Henderson.
Why do you want to be near Henderson?
为什么你要靠近 Henderson 那边呢 ？It's close to the city.
How long does it take you to get from Henderson to the city?
那么从 Henderson 到 city 要多长时间？
我也不知道啊。
I do not know.
Clearly, the Malaysian national has no idea of Auckland's geography. He also takes objection to being questioned.
我好像是犯人这样。
I've been treated like a criminal.
You're not being treated like a criminal. I just need to ask you what you've come to New Zealand for.
我并没把你当犯人，我只是问你今天过来干什么，问一些问题而已。
Upon request, the Malaysian gives up his mobile phone. Stacey hopes it'll reveal some clues about his true intentions whilst in New Zealand. At the International Mail Centre in Auckland, MPI Biosecurity New Zealand officer Eileen has just spotted a package from the US bearing all the hallmarks of dubious content.
It's got snacks and a card game, but it looks a little bit more organic than that.
The X-ray shows no cards and the snacks appear fresh.
You can almost see the core.
You can, yeah, you can.
All right.
It looks like produce.
Yep. No, we'll have a look. Take it in?
Yep.
Okay.
Eileen takes the dubious box to the inspections room for a closer look.
Yep. You're hit by the smell pretty much straight away, and we've opened the box. And there is a bag of apples inside. Ooh, a very strong smell of apples.
With an $800 million apple industry, this is the last thing New Zealand needs.
I mean, there's no need to send fresh apples to New Zealand. And to send a whole bag of them, the potential risk with this is ridiculous.
These apples may host a myriad of diseases that are not immediately visible.
Fruit fly are quite clever. They lay their eggs about 3 millimetres under the surface of fruit, and you don't know it's there until it pops up.
Aside from the fruit fly, the partially rotten apples could carry disease.
There are some very specific apple diseases that we're trying to keep out. There's apple scab, there's a type of rust that can be found on apples. So what we need to do now is contact our importer, let them know they have a couple of options with these apples. They can choose to send them back to America, which will cost them about the same, if not more, than the $75 that's already been spent on them. So you're looking at already an almost $180 bag of apples here. If they don't want that option, we can destroy it for them, and I imagine in this case that will be the preferred choice.
It's now late in the day at Auckland International Airport, and Immigration Officer Stacey is checking the Malaysian man's phone. She hopes it will reveal clues as to what the man plans to do here.
The passenger's given me consent to look through his phone, and upon doing so, I've noticed that there's a number of screenshots for work advertisements in New Zealand, a number of which are paying below minimum wage, which is also a concern.
Stacey presents the man with the evidence he's here to work illegally.
With your consent, I have examined your phone.
Okay.
And I note that you have a number of job advertisements within the construction industry in New Zealand on your phone. Can you explain this?
这可是我儿子做的，我的比如说的。
I didn't do that. Maybe my son did.
The Malaysians' endless tall stories become almost laughable. Stacey runs his details past colleague Lata.
He's stated that he's come here for a holiday. He's got no idea of what he's going to be doing here other than drinking wine. On his phone, I located some messages for job advertisements within the construction industry, which he was unable to explain. He also advised that he overstayed in Australia by a period of 1 month and was working illegally there. As a result of that, he's been excluded from Australia for a period of 3 years, and he failed to declare that on his arrival card today. So there's a whole number of reasons why I wish to refuse an entry today.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The Malaysian is advised of immigration's decision.
Having considered all of the information before me, I have decided to revoke your entry permission today. You are now liable for turnaround and will be placed on the first available craft departing New Zealand.
The passenger returned on the next available flight back to Malaysia. He is unlikely to be able to visit New Zealand for a very long time.